Ian, you used to emulate, right?
Yeah, man. Discovering emulation was mind-blowing back in the day. And what was the first one? FNES? INES?
Were those the first? Was INES the first? I don't remember FNES.
Or INES. Maybe that's what it was called. But it didn't have sound, and you had to pay to unlock it. But then, along April 3rd, 1997, NESticle is released. And the doors were blown wide open.
Created by Sardu of Bloodlust Software.
And, man, NESticle took up so much of my time. It's the 20th anniversary of it. And while it's no longer updated and hasn't been updated in forever, the importance of NESticle cannot be overstated. Not only was it the first freeware NES emulator, it was the first one to allow you to record a run. It was the first one to allow you to access sprite files and create ROM hacks with new graphics and things like that.
Simple to use GUI.
Yeah, an easy-to-use graphical user interface. Ran in both DOS and Windows 95.
Easy controller support.
Yep, controller support.
It played almost the entire library.
Not flawlessly, but yeah.
It ran them.
It ran them. There's very few things that you would run into real problems with.
Does it play Castlevania 3?
But it was awesome. All bow down to the fecal lord.
For years, I didn't realize that the icon was a testicle.
You didn't?
With a pointer. I thought it was just a bloody hand. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, no, it's testicle.
If you don't know, when you're using NESticle, it's NES plus testicle. The little mouse pointer is a bloody testicle. Try to get a bigger picture. Is that a testicle with a is that a penis? Or is that a hand with a finger? I can't tell. I cannot fucking tell.
Oh, the icon the icon was a testicle. I don't know about the hand. The pointer.
The pointer. I'm looking at it right now and I still can't tell.
Well,
it could be both.
I thought that was a bloody hand.
Okay, I thought it was.
I thought that was a bloody.
I thought
hand.
it was a nut sack.
Who knows?
Well, what's amazing though is that, like Ian said, they I think the last version was like '98 when this came out. So within like a year of it being released, this was like the basis for other emulators to follow. Like this was I guess like the Wolfenstein 3D of NES emulators. Like you had to start from here.
I'd give it the Doom. I'd call it the Doom.
Oh really? You just you doom it up. Okay.
Yeah, because there were emulators prior to this, but this was the Doom. And I believe Sardu went on to do Genesis, which was the first Genesis emulator I used. But I don't think that was supported for very long, and there were slowdown issues and problems with Genesis from what I remember. But man, I remember sitting around with my first girlfriend in high school, and we would just download ROMs and ROMs and ROMs and play them, and then we'd go to the flea markets on Saturdays or Sundays, and then just go buy the games that we liked the most when they were super cheap, and then play them on the TV. And that's kind of where my opinion has always come from, that emulation's not a bad thing. I mean, to me and to a lot of other people, emulation was a great way to find those games you wanted to physically own back in the day.
Sure. Like I said, this is what helped me get back into Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm,
because if you're in the late 90s and you're just hanging out, you're in your dorm room or whatever, you're at high school, you're home, like, I remember playing Nintendo games 10 years ago. Let's just search it. Oh, there's TSR's NES Archive. How do I play these? How do I play and go into Alta Vista at the time? Or Webcrawler was still
Lycos.
there. Lycos.
Hotbot.
Hotbot. I liked Lycos and Alta Vista.
Webcrawler.
Webcrawler. That was like, or all the web's still around. But Jeeves isn't. But you would just put in like play NES games online, and then you'd be like, "Ooh, what's this? What's a ROM and an emulator?" And then you find something like NESticle, and it was simple to like download and install. The ROMs were plentiful even back then. You couldn't find all of them easily, but you can find all the popular ones easily. And sort of, this is before torrents, but you can find websites like probably I think even sites like CoolROM probably existed back then.
CoolROM, yeah. CoolROM,
like you said,
forever.
you had. You had save states. You can pause the game, resume it. Save states blew our minds when we were teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit! I mean, I can finally get through the fucking top secret episode mazes without falling through the floor for the 80th fucking time in Brazil. Like you said, the gameplay movies. Where do you think a lot of the early, when you look at like all those the first 3-4 years of YouTube gameplay footage, NES games, those are almost all from emulators.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, like, if they're not using NESticle, like, that forged the way for other ones that have saving gameplay either live or playing it back. A lot of them, you can save your own movies and basically play it back and then record. You can actually go back and watch it. This is important shit. But it's a shame that it wasn't continued on, because if it continued on, it could have been still around today, like, and up to date. But even back then, it ran on slow computers. It wasn't like, 2 frames a second. It was pretty smooth.
It runs basically perfectly on a 486. I think it even runs pretty solidly on a 386. And
the reason he stopped, it looked like, according to Wikipedia, a code cracker named Donald Moore, also known as Mind Rape, he stole the code, and then Sardu said, "Fuck this, I'm out," which is a shame. You hate that. You should have said just "fuck you" to this guy and continue on. Please come back. Come back, Sardu. I want NESticle 2.5 or whatever it's on. Anyway, so any other closing thoughts on NESticle's 20-year anniversary? I think this is going to be the biggest sort of emulator like this, besides MAME, that we're going to remember 100 years from now as sort of like paving the way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like these two.
I agree.
Like TurboGrafx, there's only one major one, the Magic Engine, and that came out so far long ago, and it's still like the only one. That people really talk about.
Yeah, I think Magic Engine actually came out just a little bit after.
And that was paid, but it worked.
Yeah.
So that guy didn't have to update it. Like, that's one of those weird ones where, like, yeah, it works for every game, fuck you.
That's what it says on the tin. Yeah, Magic Engine was...
Runs the CD games, it plays the ROMs of the other ones,
Magic Engine was worth paying for, although you still have to burn the CDs to play them, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure that was cracked after that, but sure. And then the early Neo Geo ones I remember being really good alongside MAME. The Genesis and Super Nintendo ones always took a while to catch up in terms of, progression, but for obvious reasons, they're a little more complicated than just running, Pac-Man and Mappy.
All right.